Your sound is very low. Your sound is very low. Your sound is very low.
Hello? They should be able to hear me now. Can you hear me now? Sorry, my brother switched on the wrong mic. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Hello? Can you hear me now? I'm just making sure that we can hear. Let's try and see if we can hear King Maponga.
Let's see.
Hello, 1, 2. Okay, you should be able to hear me now. You can hear? Yes, they said yes. Oh, great. That's fantastic. Let's see if you can hear our guest. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. So everybody, really excited to say, wow, a lot of people have joined us really quickly. So let me, without further ado, I've got a brief intro. And so it's a very brief synopsis about our guest. I'm hoping that his thread will be stable. So King Joshua Maponga. King Maponga is a very inspirational, motivational speaker, someone that I've been watching for a very long time. He's also a philosopher. He's also a leader. He's also a musician, actually, fantastic musician, and is also a social entrepreneur. And in my heart, he's a king. He's a true king and leader. And his heart is tuned in towards community development. And he's worked with various organizations from Vision Design House, Global Management Center, also entrepreneurial development. And he's also got his own channel as well. He's also a prolific author. And in fact, we're going to talk about his new book today. I'm really excited. And we're also going to talk about DSTV channel 331. And 331, why is that such an important number? 331 is my date of birth, King Maponga. So, you didn't know that, right?
No, I didn't know that.
So he's also a very talented and pragmatic speaker, but he also has so much knowledge about African spirituality that I just had to have this conversation here today. I think he's one of the most sought after leaders of our time. We must value him. He's precious. We must love him. We must Oh gosh, you've got lots of messages here. We must cherish him and value his knowledge. People like him come about once in a lifetime. So because he keeps coming in and out the stream, I'm really just going to turn onto him, and so that he can, you know, talk about his projects and about himself, his ministry as well, because I think that's really important. So I'm just going to add him to the stream now. So welcome, welcome. I know we keep dropping in and out, but I'm going to allow you to, you know, take the floor and tell everybody this is my husband, Adrian. We call him Hatib Kajabi. This is our African name. I'm Nyancho Kajabi, and this is Bla Xit. So you have a wholehearted, loving African welcome to Bla Xit. I have been waiting for. You don't even know how excited I am. I'm tripping over my words. I've been waiting a lifetime for this. So welcome, 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 welcome in the biggest love ever. So please share with everybody about yourself.
That's not easy to do. Introducing yourself is never a light thing, because I don't know what to tell you and what not to tell you. But for the better part of it, I think I write and I talk. I think that's the simplest way of simplifying it. Spend lots of time in the corridors of thought. Then I try and download the information into paper. Then from there, I'm creating what I might want to coin and term as social re-engineering strategies, fully aware of the community in which I come from, having lived also in the West and graduated in the universities of this world. I decided to come back home. I could have made it anywhere in the world, from the US to Australia to Europe. I lived in those places, but I decided, what is the use of knowing and learning so much, and yet in my village and where I come from, they will still need some information and knowledge. Yes, it's cold here. The temperatures, I think, are around -1 or 2, thereabouts. It's quite freezing. So I decided to put on some little warm jacket here. But yeah, but other than that, I do lots of crafts and art forms, using my hands, some of the skills that my grandmother taught me, like making hats and walking sticks, cultural paraphernalia. But I take them as stress relieving exercises, and transmitting that information to the young people has become an obsession, I should say, because I think people of our generation have been taught to consume and buy things, and instead of making things, they want to buy. So I made an advert the other day which was quite funny, where I said to people, you come home or come to me, I'll show you how to make yourself your own hat and or something that you can just make. Only 2 people came, unfortunately. When I made a range of stuff and I said I'm selling, people who had a stampede into the buying space. I actually learned that people no longer respect their hands. They would rather have, how much is it? That's the first question to ask you. And then when I tell them that I don't sell, I teach, then they get kind of disappointed. No, man, you must just make it and sell it. I said, no, I don't work for you. I'm not your servant. I don't work for you. But anyway, I spend lots of my time looking at systems, challenging paradigms, and yeah, I think to say in a nutshell, that would be more or less. But I come from the great Zimbabwe, the Monomotapa kingdom of the South, the kingdoms of the South. So you have the South, you have the Central Africa, then you have Abyssinia, which is Ethiopia, the kingdoms of Mali. Then Egypt was not a kingdom as such, it was almost like an empire. Then Nigeria and Benin. So in the ancient times, those were the 5 major kingdoms that were on Africa before the Berlin conferences and the divisions of our maps into small little kitchen countries. So I am from the Kingdom of the South. That is the Great Zimbabwe. Before Britain was the Great Britain, we had a great Zimbabwe.
So listen, I always say, ladies and gentlemen, but in this case, I'm going to allow my husband to speak because he's also a great follower of you. We used to, like I said, we used to sit in bed and watch you and listen to you and be inspired by you. So I'm just going to let my husband say a few words to you before I hog the show.
Yes, greetings, King Maponga. Thanks for giving us the time today. Thanks for giving us the time, you know. I mean, we've been following the work, and you've opened millions and millions of people's eyes, you know. And all the topics we cover, they're well accepted. And, Africa, I could see change is coming. I could see we're coming together. I could see a global change coming, you know, and we have to keep working towards it. So we respect the work that you're doing. You know, because the work that you're doing is important, especially for the younger generation. You know, you reinstalling confidence in us as Black people coming back home, finding ourselves back home in the motherland. You know, so the work that you all are doing is great works. And this work is a continuum from since the time of Marcus Garvey onwards, you know. So give thanks for the work that you're putting in for our people. You know, give thanks.
Thank you.
So I'd like to know what inspired you. I know you're creative, and obviously I definitely want to come and learn to make hats. And you know, Credo Mortua, many years ago, I used to read his books and I used to watch him, and I was really inspired to come to Zimbabwe because I really wanted to go to his house and I wanted to see his creations. And he spoke so much about African spirituality, the mother side of us and the warrior side of us, and you know, and I really wanted to learn more. And so it was actually while I was online looking for him and I was searching something in Zimbabwe when I came across you for the first time. And so since then, so it was since then I said, wow, look at that. You know, sometimes the connections and the connectivity is just so supreme. It's so divine. And it happens. Yeah. The fact that I'm even talking to you today, I got to admit, I feel like I'm dreaming. Yeah. Like, it's like,
I'll ask your husband to pinch you so that at least you can know it is happening, you know.
It's real. So I want to know about your beginnings, because a lot of us are on this journey. I was raised, obviously, in an environment with a mum and a dad who had come from Jamaica as young people, and then, you know, had to find themselves established in a racist, you know, cold country of the UK. And my mom came from more of a kind of Caribbean kind of Christian background, but my dad came from more of a kind of African spirituality background. So it was like there was almost like a battle between them both. But I was so much of a daddy's girl that I was more in tune to, like, you know, the African drumming with my dad. And, you know, I love the vibration. My dad just spoke about Africa. Everything was Africa, 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 Africa. That's it. I became a child of Africa. And, you know, Africa was my dream, was my ultimate goal. So I head out to Africa from when I was 22 years old. I was like, I'm going away. I'll see you later. Bye. And that was it. It's just decided, you know, I needed to be among my own people. I've got to go. And so I want to know, you know, what inspired you? Because I've seen people in Africa, and I must admit, they don't have your mindset. Okay, they really don't. So I want to know what started you, who inspired you? Like, my nan inspired me, my dad inspired me. What has inspired you, and who set you on this journey to really connect with the, if you like, the true origins of our experience, of our spirituality, of our Africanness, our essence.
Credo Mutua He wrote a lot about Zimbabwe and the Mtapa Kingdom, but he's actually from Zululand, from South Africa.
Yes.
And if it will make you any happier, when I was writing my book, Find Your Truth, I had a privilege of visiting him, and we spent some time together quite a bit when I was doing my research. So I had an opportunity also of rubbing shoulders and learning from the great grandmasters when he was still alive. May his soul rest and live in peace. For me, I lived almost what I might call 3 to 4 dispensations, starting off with the late 60s, the hippie times, and my grandfather then had come back from World War II, and the people were excited about coming back from the moon. Technology was starting. My father was farming, and it was a very sort of interesting time where we had not much material, but I think we had everything. We had everything. Lots of things were still in place. And my father, having accepted the calling into the church space, he then dumped me with my grandfather at the farm.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to hear the drums firsthand from the people who were born in the 1800s. We had no TV, so my grandmother would be sitting around telling us stories, bedtime stories. We had a chance of being shown the stars, and they were naming those stars. We had a chance of being told to run to the bush and collect some herbs because Aunt so-and-so was delivering a child, and they needed a certain kind of a herb to come and bath hair, and they needed another herb to come and fix up the child and immunize the child. We had a chance of castrating our bulls with knives and roasting the testicles on the fireplace. We had a chance of climbing trees and having 1 meal a day, eating berries, and being told, watch out for the lions and watch out for the tigers in the bush. Would hear hyenas singing in the night. So I experienced that. I experienced that for the greatest part of my youth. I would walk barefooted, heading my 120 head of cattle of my grandfather. I drank water from the river, which was unpurified, and we would drink milk from the cows as we were heading cattle. And the real deal. I experienced that firsthand. And towards the end of my primary school, then my father decided he would take the bush out of me and move me into town, and introduce me to. Now, I could write English, but I could not speak it. I would write it down, but I could not speak it. So it was now a new learning curve now of trying to become an academician in classes and stuff. Then I was dumped in a missionary school because war had broken out in Zimbabwe, and it was now no longer safe to be living where we were living. We now had to move to other parts of the country and town. So my father felt my education was going to be important. Then he put me in a mission school, Seventh-day Adventist mission school called Solusi, which is an American institution, a sister school of Andrews University, Barron Springs, Michigan, where basically he just left me there to figure it out myself. And what was painful, he was now trying to balance the indigenous traditional knowledge system that I had with modern space, where now you have to make up your bed. You now have to sit on a table and forks on the left and this on the right. And when I was growing up, I was told you eat from your right hand, not from your left hand, and all of a sudden things are now switching around, and quite interesting. And you have to iron your clothes, you have to tuck in your shirts, you have to learn to bow to ladies, open doors, and all this cutlery, crockery, and etiquette played its space. But I sailed along. At the completion of my high school, I decided to do theology, actually, as my first degree, which was within my father's field of work. He was a publishing director, so books have always been part of my life from the time I was a small boy. I always grew knowing that there are books around me. My father is selling books. And I joined the theology fraternity, and they kicked me out a couple of times for unconventional thinking. Literally, I could not understand this whole white concept within the black space. But he told me to sit down, learn, and I can make noise after I have graduated. So I used to ask lots of questions, and I was told, don't worry, when you get to the second year, you'll understand. And I got the second year, don't worry, you're going to do that in BLB 404. No, don't worry, that will be answered third year when you are doing philosophy. Don't worry when you are doing, advanced evolution and what. And I finished school and my questions still were not answered, but I graduated with good results and good grades. They dumped me in a place now to start pastoring as a minister of religion after my 2 degrees, and I started pastoring, of course, running a few crusades, baptizing people also, and doing what everybody else was doing. It was a career, it was a calling, and apparently they tell me I used to be good at it. I was a good preacher. That's what they say. And I don't know how far true that is, but I think it was a learning curve. After a few years, I got tired and I moved into Britain with my family and stayed there. It was too cold. I think I spent 5 years. One morning, I just woke up and I packed my bags and I told them, nah. The Simba has to go back to mainland, and I cannot live with it. So I came back. Having noticed and learned the ways of the West, I knew I did not want to become a Westerner. There was nothing in the West for me as an individual, apart from collecting garbage and collecting junk and filling my house with things, thinking that I will have value. If there is anything I learned in the West, which was the West, is how to put on brands. And when you are putting on a brand, then you feel like you are also of the same value of your brand. But then I learned very quickly that if you are cheap, you are cheap. Even if you can put on a Gucci or an Armani, and you can have the best of cars, you can have the best of colognes and etc. But if you are empty from inside, there's nothing you can do on the outside that will fix the inside. And that started off my journey, where I used to preach and shout and squeak at African people for being primitive and all this stuff. I discovered that actually what I called Christianity was marketing a colonial religion. And I was actually pressurizing my people to move away from their culture and become white people, so that they will become coconuts, good coconuts, who are brown on the outside, but white on the inside. Therefore, you cannot marry as an African. You must have a white wedding, as a European does. You cannot kill a goat to claim your wife. You must put on a ring on her finger to say, this is my wife. You cannot drink herbs to cure yourself. You must drink tablets to cure yourself. And I think what you might want to call what caused the change, for me, it was the consolidation. The putting together. As an old man, when I started now to say, these questions I still have, and I started to ask the church at this old age, then they told me, no, it's too late to ask questions. You must now answer those questions, because the young people are asking the same questions. And then I said, if I must answer the questions, then I must walk down and start learning from where I left off. Then I took off my shoes. I think I didn't put on shoes for almost 2 years. I was walking barefooted and with my traditional sandals, meeting people, consolidating information, learning about tribes, languages, tradition, rituals, meeting kings, indigenous healers, connecting with forests. And basically, I knew my way around it. But now to do it with understanding, I think it has driven and assisted me to be where I am. I thank you.
There we go. Okay, so there's a lot of people that have been asking a lot of questions, but it was good to know your background, because many of us, and I don't speak for just myself, but also my husband and many of us in the diaspora, we get kind of hooked and locked into what I call like white savior syndrome. And us coming back to Africa and our return home, we're also facing the same systems. For example, we have an automatic citizenship campaign. It looks like someone wants to come in to ask some questions as well. We have an automatic citizenship campaign. And that is for us to automatically be seen as Africans. And that is because a lot of people, unfortunately, on the continent identify us as everything except for African, and which is a very weird dichotomy to be in. And so we started a campaign so that we could automatically be seen as African. And, you know, we want to have an integration initiation, because we really need a reinitiation. We need a reintegration and reassimilation back to our African identity. Very important. And part of changing our names was part of reclaiming that identity as well. I am Nyancho. Nyancho in Mandinka means warrior. And Kujabi is one of the traditional families that actually was the founder of Banjul here in the Gambia. And so, and they are both from different tribes. So Kujabi is Jola and Nyancho is Mandinka. And they have similar traditions in some ways. And, you know, finding that has changed me. But we find ourselves having to go through all of these constitutional and colonial laws to have ourselves re-embraced. So just recently we was on your birthday show on the Pan-African Daily TV show. I want to give a big shout out to my queen, Susan Tata. Love you, Susan. Big up Pan-African Daily TV. And I always watch you on there. And you said that our skin should be our passport. When you said that, I was jumping. You couldn't see me, but of course, I was jumping all over the place. So when you said that, because this is exactly the core of my being, the core of my heart, my spirit. We recently had an audience with the president here, didn't we, Ash? Yeah. The president, his name is Adama Barrow, His Excellency Adama Barrow. And he said to us, no one can take your Africanness away from you. And he said, you know, he quoted Peter Tosh, and he said, it doesn't matter where you come from, as long as you're a black man, you're an African. So I would like to know, where do you think we can go moving forward, given that the Berlin Conference is in place, given that we have these borders, given that we have all these colonial laws and all of these other, you know, so-called barriers that we face? What advice would you give us moving forward with our campaign? Because we would like to make this a continental campaign. We've spoken to the AU. I've spoken to you know, the chairman of the AU, Kwesi Quarterly, and so many others. What advice would you give us? Because I agree, asking should be our passport.
Yeah. To start off, it will be important to notice that there's no way you can build an African child with a colonial education. The damage is deep. While you guys are coming back to Africa, the African child wants to run away from here to the other side. What they know is Casper and the Friendly Ghost. It is Beauty and the Beast. It is the whole concept of being African has been baptized, if I could use that word sacrimoniously. It has been baptized into Africa is inferior, African is inferior, and European is superior. So you firstly need to look at the entertainment world, the educational space. When you mention the Berlin Conference, you need to understand and break it down to such an extent that you agree that they started off with a geographical demarcation of Africa, but the demarcation of Africa ended up as a mental demarcation. People were ended up institutionalized in our minds, so that in as much as the borders are still standing, but the worst borders for me are the borders that are actually in the minds of the African, where we have been put in boxes. You must think in a certain way and perceive yourself and those outside of yourself in a certain way. It takes time to have lived in the West and be called an illegal immigrant. And you go to another place like America and you're called a foreigner. You get a place like Australia and you're called an alien. Literally, that's the constitution, says you're an alien because you're from Africa. Now, if you have been to Australia and you've been called alien, you're in Britain and you were called an illegal immigrant, and you're in America and you were called a foreigner, then I ask myself the question, so who am I? Where can I be a citizen? And I think
the aliens here.
And I think if the fellow Africans can understand the plight of us who have traveled to see the world from outside, we should be more accommodating when our brothers and sisters come back home. As I always say, yes, your skin is your passport. And secondly, they were able to take us away from Africa or take you away from Africa. And when you arrived on the other end, you did not have a name. Because as long as you kept your name, they knew that you would be able to trace your roots back to your place. So they cut off your names. And my challenge is that anyone out there who is planning to come back to Africa, please, when you get to the border, immediately after the immigration issues are sorted out, take that passport, take that name, and throw it in the rubbish can. Go back to a village where they can reorient you. Under the supervision of well-trained spiritual people, they can actually be able to identify your lineages in terms of the animals. They can put you in some certain form of ceremony. Your dreams will come back to you in your ancestry. You are a lion, you are a buffalo, you are a giraffe, you are a porcupine, and etc. And from those visions and dreams, you can actually be able to decode your DNA and hence actually be able to, the answers are within you. You just need a system through which you can bring those things out. And then I think the anxiety of those outside will say, okay, if I throw away my name, what am I going to be? That's exactly the frustration your forefathers experienced. Now you're called Mrs. Jones, you're called Mr. Peters, you're called Thompson, etc. That's the frustration. You wake up tomorrow morning and you tell me as Maponga J, you are no longer Maponga J. From tomorrow onwards, you're Mr. Kadwala. How do I begin to live with that? So that the whole re-engineering project and the colonization of the African, it is worse. Our weakest link are the educated Africans who now think that they know. And as a result, they begin to down look on the less educated and they marginalize those that are coming back. And they still want to keep you in the frame. So I always have this phrase, which I share on all my platforms. There are three types of people. There are those that think inside the box, and they are locked in the box of limitation. There are those that think outside of the box. They still use the box as a reference to their thinking. But my group of people, ban the damn box and think. Just burn the box and think. In other words, break the boundaries. And don't even have a reference of someone wanting to be known. I'm Afro-American. I'm Euro-African. What? No, man. When you end up in Europe, you can spend 100 years in Europe. A black man will never be called a European. That's a fact. You are never a European. So how come when you identify yourself, you want still to identify yourself as an Afro-American, as an Afro-European? You just be clear as to what you are. If you are African, you're African. That's your DNA. America is a geographical location. You cannot give yourself an identity based on a geographical location. You're not a gadget, which is a GPRS of I'm in America, therefore I must. When you are in a toilet, can we call you toilet? Doesn't mean that you can be identified by geography. So identity cannot be picked up because of a colonial geographical disposition or position. So, and I think this is very strong for the African to say, please look yourself in the mirror. No matter how much bleach you have put on yourself, look into your eyes, look on your skin, look on your hair, and listen to yourself when you're angry, how you get angry. Do you get angry like a white person, or the African in you comes out? Then if you know what you are, it cannot be more complicated than that. Just identify yourself, because the Americans remain Americans. Europeans remain Europeans. Australians remain Australians. Chinese and the Indians. It's only the Africans who need a prefix to their name because they have changed their geographical location. Sooner or later, we might as well have Afro-Chinese and Afro-Indians because they are now living in India and they are living in China. So if you are in China, you must be an Afro-Chinese and an Afro-Indian. And I think this is quite a primitive, very colonial way of perceiving our identities. If you are African, just say it in one sentence and put a full stop after that.
Here, he's been waiting quite patiently. GK, are you with us? GK? I've got an apology. My brother is actually dyslexic, and he put your name as Mapongo. It's Maponga, everybody. So I apologize for that, but he types and writes as he sees things. And so being from the UK, he mispronounced it. So he set up the stream. So please excuse my brother. It wasn't intentional. Yeah, it's just that he has small disabilities. Anyway, but he's fantastic at what he does, and he's allowed to make mistakes because we all make mistakes. So GK, are you with us? GK? Hello? I'm not sure if he's there. I don't know. You've been waiting for a while. So if you can hear me, say yes. GK? Okay, so we'll just remute you. When you're ready, just let us know by giving us a comment in the comments section. So I'll just unmute you. So Adrian, I'd like to know if you've got any questions before I jump in, because you know me, I'm full of questions. I've got so many questions for. Okay, so when I used to watch you, right, one of the things that I watched is when you was in the back garden in your leather jacket and you was speak with your hats and your badges, and I was so like inspired by what you were saying, and you spoke a lot about agriculture. Now, I am an avid supporter of eat what you grow and grow what you eat. I think it's the fundamental building blocks of our life. Obviously, I came from that background where my dad grew everything: strawberries, cherries, tomatoes, gooseberries, potatoes. We could get our whole, dessert and dinner, from the garden. And so I'm still the same now. I still like to get everything from the garden. And we have 2 community farms, and here in the Gambia. And in fact, I was supposed to be at a meeting today about one of them with some lady farmers, because we're doing a community farming project where we supply the seeds, we supply the natural fertilizer, we supply the water source, and they help farm it, and we share all of the produce. We recently had a windstorm, and that windstorm has caused a lot of farmers to lose their seeds. Now, luckily enough for me, I was late planting this year. I was early on one farm and late on another farm. So because of my mismatch of timing, I happened to be not affected, but other farmers were greatly affected. I would just like you to talk to, your farming vlogs and what they were about, and why it's so important for us to go back to our agriculture.
Firstly, I would like to challenge you to learn from my grandfather, who could not read or write, but he had a walking stick on which he had markings on the walking stick. And every season, he would mark the stick in a certain way. So like this year, when you had the windstorm, you need to get your stick and mark the stick and put windstorm and put a date on it. And next year, watch what happens. 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year, 6th year. As it were, nature has got a cycle. In your old age, you must be able to make certain predictions because you have lived and experienced the natural habitat long enough. It will tell you. And I can tell you that those that lost their seeds have lost the timing in terms of understanding, listening to the birds, the direction in which the wind is blowing. Signs are always there. Signs are always there. But when you look, part of being an African is actually learning the technology of cosmology, meteorology, and vegetation, and check out the types of vegetation, butterflies, insects that grow in one season. You will get used to noticing what kind of environment manifests itself. And having lived there a couple of times, you'll be able to make predictions as to what kind of weather. My grandfather would know next year it's going to be cold. He would tell you the other year we're going to have grasshoppers. The other year he would tell you, no, we're going to have plenty bamba harvest. How he knew that? The moon had a certain amount of clouds around it. When these stars are like this, it means that. But anyway, that's another technology. And if you want that information, some of the old people in the villages will still have some of that IT and info. So don't be afraid of stepping away from the cosmopolitan life and going down to the villages and sitting down with the old people to download that software. Number two, there's no amount of, sorry for the language, stupid civilization like the one we have now, where people can write, where people can read, but people can't feed themselves.
Yes.
I don't know how someone can claim to have a PhD and yet you cannot make yourself a plate of food from your ground. And pardon me, I know some people might look at this as being maybe too harsh, but honestly, any civilization that does not teach its people sustainable lifestyles. If right now electricity goes off and the water system collapses, I'm not joking, 60 to 80% of our urban community will perish. The other day, people in Pretoria here, they had a problem of electricity and water, and the whole city was messed up because simply people had no water and people could not go to the toilet. It was a big issue that you cannot even go to the bush because you have been taught that you must have a toilet inside the house which you can flush. But you forget you can only flush when you have water in. So when you don't have water, then what do? Then people are literally stuck and people don't know what to do even with themselves. And then you look around and say, what? I wrote a paper the other day entitled 7IR after I attended one conference where they were talking about 4IR, the transition from 3IR to 4IR. And then my mind just took away to say, if right now you're talking about 4IR, can I make a projection as to what 4 would look like, what 5 would look like, what 6 would look like? But I know that at 7, every civilization collapses because you'll have exhausted your existence and messed up the environment. The environment closes you down and starts itself afresh. It resets itself. Hence, you can read about the Colosseums, the Greek civilizations. You can read about the Babylonians. You can read about the walls of China. You can read about the great Zimbabwe kingdoms and how all these kingdoms, even including Kemet, the great Egyptian kingdoms, how do you reach such a peak of civilization and then you remain in ruins? It means that you become such a consumer of the natural habitat and you are not putting anything back until nature finally decides, okay, have a good day. We close you down either with a flood or with landslides or any form of destruction that might come, and or heat or desertification, anything, and just wipe you off so that nature allows itself to restart again. So my definition, which I came up with for 7IR, which right now the Aborigines are living in 7IR. The Hottentots in the jungles of Congo are on 7IR. The Bushmen are on 7IR. This is a civilization that manufactures nothing, that owns nothing, but that has everything. For me, the highest part of civilization is when humanity can live in harmony with nature. And knowing that you come to Africa, you dig all this gold, only to end up stocking up under the palace of the Queen of London. So what is the use of it? You dig up all these diamonds to end up locking them up in a vault in Arwep. What's the use of it? You dig up all these metals to make up cars and end up with junkyards the size of stadiums. So what's the use of it? At the end of the day, we needed a balance to say how much material can we vandalize from nature. Right now, they're cutting trees in Ghana, in Congo. I think they're doing the same in Gambia, and logging and taking all this wood, making up furniture in big houses and etc. And it looks like people are not aware of the ecological intelligence that is needed. And within the agricultural pillar that you are mentioning, it's very important for me to share with the young people to say agriculture is sexy, it's beautiful, it is nice, because we eat every day. We love good food. Please, so don't look at it, don't look at someone whose hands, I know my hands are quite ugly. I was in the garden actually, and they are all white and dry. I didn't even have time to put some oil on them because I was working in my garden. I'm even afraid of showing my hands today. Hence, I'm hiding them a bit. But you look around and say, how educated can you be to be eating processed, poisoned foods when actually the ground next to your house can give you the food that you want? Organic seeds, well-bred food. Whereas our civilization right now, I don't call it civilization, I call it destruction. Because we think that when we can put more concrete buildings and poison the waters, and then take the sewage water and clean it up again and send it back to the tape water, and people can be drinking that, we call that civilization. But that's what's happening all around the world, where sewage water is being recycled and is being pumped back into the taps, and people are saying that's civilization. No, it's pure. We've cleaned it up. It is pure. But why drink sewage water when actually the rivers have because the rivers have been poisoned by cyanide. Why cyanide? Because they were digging gold on the upper stream, and when they were cleaning up the gold, they used cyanide to clean up the gold, and they poured the cyanide into the river. Now the fish are dead. What are people going to eat? No, I'm going to make cornflakes for you and wheat bix. So this whole new paradigm is changing the livelihood of people. The DNA is being tempered. I want even to declare on this channel, we like it or not, we are in a biological warfare, and that is on diet. When you look in your plate of food,
yes,
we are at war.
We are at war. Declare it, declare it, declare it. We are living in biological warfare. Say it again, say it again, say it again. Sorry.
We're at war, and the Western world wants to show us that maybe when you're eating from a plate with 2, 3, 4 forks and spoons on the left and on the right, it means you're eating good food. But we know that you spend the early part of your life eating all the rubbish, and you spend all your retirement money on medical bills to fix the problems that you caused and you chewed through your teeth. Our old people still have all their teeth in their mouths. They're never vaccinated, for example. We can even talk about these things of vaccination. I'm not obsessed about it. The only time in my village, a person who treats a person who is not sick, we call such a person a witch, because they're the ones who come in the night when you are sleeping and you are not sick, and they try to treat you. So why would you be talking about treating people that are not sick? In all honesty, because if nature, let me share this one with you. It could be interesting, actually. My grandmother then would say, after a young baby is born, go to the river, go and collect the mud that is on the side of the river. That mud that is mixed with grass, the dirty one. And I go and scoop it and I bring it, and she puts it in a dish. She goes to the kettle crawl, picks up some cow dung that is semi-rotten, semi-fresh, puts it in the dish, goes to the chicken run, takes some chicken stuff, put it in the dish, take some soil, put it in the dish, and make all this mucky yuck stuff that is full of bacteria. She leaves it there to simmer for some 2-3 days, and then take a fresh new baby after the new moon has come out, and then they would soak this baby in this mucky stuff. And then you look around as a civilized person and say, yuck, what a mess. But man, what intelligence was in that? Because under a controlled environment, grandmama was introducing my body to the bacteria in the river, to the bacteria in the crawl, to the bacteria in the chicken run, so that as I live in that environment and I drink that water and I eat those chickens and the bacteria of these species that are within my environment, we taught the European people how to vaccinate. They cannot teach us today. We know this thing. We know this thing. And every time we visit a new place, and I want to share this technology with you. Every time you visit a new place which you don't know, identify a clean place somewhere in that new environment where there's clean soil. Please go there, scoop a bit of that soil and put it in your mouth. You introduce your body to the bacteria that is in that environment. That's what we did. Every time we went to a new place, my grandmother would say, lick the ground. Then you lick the ground. And people look around and say, what is this all about? Africans are worshiping the soil. You don't understand. We lived in the presence of our science, and we understood the ecological coherence of human anatomy with the environment that it was existing in. And there was nothing evil, dirty about it. In fact, more sanitized environments, the cleaner your house is. I'm not saying stay in dirty houses. The more sanitizers you use around your house, the sicker you are going to be. Because even the bacteria in your own kitchen does not know you.
You know, I never actually thought of it like that. Hey, I'm not washing up tonight. I said, I'm not washing up tonight. You see, I'm going to say,
I would like you to do a research on the Himba tribe. There's a tribe in Namibia. Very interesting. They're still there. They're being flushed out, of course, because of civilization. They live next to the Chobe River, the Great Zambezi River, the tributary that comes from Namibia. A beautiful tribe. They don't wash, by the way. They put clay on their hair. You might have seen some of those pictures on the internet. You can just Google the Himba people. And then what they do instead of bathing, they have an aura.
Someone Google the screen. Can someone Google it and put it in the comments? We can all look, please. Say it again, please.
The Himba people. Himba.
Okay.
But they have an aura that they carry with them. And they're very interesting tribe. Before a woman gets pregnant, she goes and sits under a tree, and she will not leave the tree until she hears a song. And then when she hears the song, she comes home and she teaches the husband the song. Then they make the baby while singing the song. And when the child is born, they are taught that song. And when they are crying, that becomes their song. And when the women and the men, they go to the bushes, they collect all these herbs. They actually put them in a big pot somewhere and make a fire, and you close yourself with a blanket. So they do what we call smoke bathing, not water bathing. They do smoke bathing or steam bathing. And at the end of the day, the women there, a very interesting history. They actually steam their yonis and do all the other things. Sicknesses and diseases are not known in that part of the world because they basically have adjusted and they are living in harmony with nature. Google the Himba people in Namibia, in the northern part of Namibia. So that even this whole thing about over-bathing and over-cleaning and over-perfuming ourselves, it's just a Western thing. Yes, we do it for cosmetic purposes, but I think some things are commercialized to an extent of sickness where people brush their teeth until they mess up their gums, whereas you can chew some certain herbs and you can brush your teeth once every 2 weeks. There are herbs that can cure halitosis and gingivitis that are in the bush and still give you a clean set of teeth like mine without necessarily having to removing your lining of your gums every day until you have sensitive teeth. You must use Sensodyne because you have sensitive teeth. You have no sensitive teeth. You have brushed off the lining of your own teeth because the commercial people on the TV are saying you must brush your teeth 3 times a day, because you're eating sugar 3 times a day.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right, and I must confess, I think when you're brought up in, like I'd say, a non-African country, like I was brought up in England, and so you're introduced to their way of living. You know, what you're talking about is probably quite alien to some people that are here even on today's live, because there's a stick that you can use. You can pull it off a tree, and it's an actual toothbrush. It's really good, and it makes your teeth really white. And you can get it here in Gambia. I mean, I learned so much. Another thing about coming home, I must, you know, just talk to this, is that I've learned about so many herbs. I have malaria, okay? And I was drinking moringa, yeah? Just straight from the tree, rinse it off and put it in hot water and just drinking straight moringa tea and some other herbs. And this is what I was drinking and drinking and drinking. And, you know, until I was fine again. Now, I want to bring some other people on because I want to ask you some questions. Now, I'm going to see if GK is available. If not, I'm going to have to take you off because you've been here for a while, but we haven't heard anything from you. So, GK, if you're here, say hello. Ask King Maponga a question. GK? Okay. It doesn't look like GK is here, so we'll add Roosevelt. Okay, interesting name. Greetings. How are you? Welcome to Bla Xit. Can you hear us?
I think he's muted.
We can't hear you. No, I haven't muted him. No, you're not muted. Put your microphone on, your audio.
Put on your audio, yes.
Yeah, so put your audio on.
And while he's putting his audio on, let me just share something else. That all these things we are talking about, these are technologies that the educated people should be coming back, finding these herbs, finding these toothbrushes, finding these steaming, combinations and herbs, packaging them up, and then begin to create a new paradigm, create a new narrative altogether in terms of healing and pharmaceutical, assistance for our society. So, in as much as you might be looking at these things from the West and say these are quite primitive, but take note that many of you are still delivering children, and some of the steaming methodologies will still work for your women's health, for example. And some of these herbs that are in the bush could still be some of these technologies of toothbrushes. I saw one the other day selling for £35 in London there. A wooden toothbrush, which you broken from a tree and selling for £35. You can Google it up, the wooden toothbrushes. And yet, so we needed those who are into architecture, into fashion, to come closer to Africa, harvest this indigenous knowledge, and then let's repackage it so that we can compete. This is our industry. Our knowledge is our industry, and we remain the freshest ground of untapped knowledge systems that can be solutions to a world that is running amok in terms of industrialization.
Mm-hmm. And I actually agree. I want to see, right? I mean, so many other nations, they plan, like 100 years, 500 years, 50 years, 60 years in advance. Now, I want to talk about your book. So I would like you to share with everybody about your book. Firstly, where they can purchase it. I think you can get it on Amazon, because I'm actually going to be hopefully getting a barrel over, so I'll have it shipped from England. And I'd like you to talk about the book and where you see us heading for the next 50, 60, 80, 100, 200, 500 years. And what do we need to change to stay on a trajectory that is going to enable our survival as Africans on and living in the continent?
I'll start off with the bad news, then I'll end with the good news. The bad news is that if we don't stop this train, Africans are an endangered species. we are going to remain only African by name, but we will have lost everything that is African. The multinational companies that have come into Africa right now, they are not joking. They are here to fully vandalize the African continent so that it can look like their own continents. You walk up right now in Britain, you cannot take a cup of water and drink from the Thames River. You can't.
No.
You can't drink a glass of water from the Thames. It's basically a sewage. No. It's a sewage river. And if you look at civil, and that river passes through the Buckingham Palace. So if we are looking at civilization in a Eurocentric way, I would love to pick up the Chinese model here and there, and where they're now beginning to do ecologically friendly buildings. That while we are moving towards our civilization, we need to learn from those that have destroyed their civilization. I've seen some movies in the olden days where American wild beasts, in their millions, they used to run the fields of America. You walk up to America right now, they've only left a few in the yellow park up north, but they've cleaned and killed all of them. And they're coming to Africa here, it's some business. They're looking at our game animals, and they come here for culling and butchering those animals, not even to eat, but just to cut off the head and carry a trophy. Now, if we have to continue the trajectory that we are continuing, where we are allowing politicians to become prostitutes of our economies with the Western economic financiers, including the Rothschild, including these IMFs, including the World Banks, who are not interested in people, but they're interested in profit over environment. America starts up the green life process. Green what, green what. But they are not signed on the same green constitution that they are saying the world must stop producing the carbon emissions. But they're the biggest producers of these things. So it's good for everybody else to keep America compensates for all other countries that are not producing the carbon into the air. If we don't change, we are heading in the wrong direction. But if we make a difference and we change, let's remember that to get where we are, it's taken us 400 years of colonization. And there's no way we have a shortcut back to ourselves, because the present generation has lost even the basic DNA. A basic DNA of walking to the bush and listening to one bird that can tell you that there's a snake ahead of you and there's honey 500 meters from here. We no longer have that technology. But some of us are still alive. For what it is worth, it would be good for the younger generation to come closer before we close our eyes. Then we can hand over the baton of these indigenous knowledge systems to preserve ourselves as an endangered species. Because colonization has to do with the dominant culture, subduing an inferior culture and infusing in an inferior culture your own culture until the slave can ask, are we safe today? And that is a house nigger who is busy wiping the boss house, and they think that this is their house because they're a nigger that is in the house. And that is the mindset that we have with the CEOs of our companies, the managing directors. No, sorry for that. You cannot allow me to say that. Pardon me for that. When you find the educated people actually are managing directors, they are CEOs of colonial companies, not of African companies. So when they sit down in parliaments and say, our economy is doing very well, we're building up our economy. Stop rubbishing us and speaking nonsense. What economy are you talking about? This is not your economy. This is not your stock exchange. This is not your fashion. This is not your entertainment. This is not your pharmaceutical. This is not your technology. This is not your computers. So you cannot be walking around and say, we are building up an African economy, but the building of an African economy is actually the empowering and the further enrichment of the colonial masters. And these are the politicians that we call our presidents and our parliamentarians. I call that a shame for African educated people. They're the weakest link on the whole pile because they sit around speaking English in air-conditioned offices. selling us off as Africans who are uneducated. You must hear them when they talk. These are the poorest of the poor. The other day they were calling us the indigent. The other day they are calling us the unemployable. The other day they are calling us the unbankable. The other day they are calling us the civilians. No, like really? The commoners. Because you went to school, you went to Cambridge, you went to Oxford University with a small little perforated small little degree that teaches you a lot about very little. You think you know everything else. So we have a problem. Where are we going 500 years from now? If this generation decides to stop and draw back and collect some indigenous knowledge with us, we could have a DNA that continues to survive amongst us for our preservation. I'm not even talking about for our glory, just to preserve ourselves as a people. Mark my words, if we don't, they will kill us through food, through nuclear, through economy, through medicine. They will put their weapons around our cities. They will force us into slavery. They will dig what they want. They will cut what they want. They will kill what they want. I hear them talking about the global village. My question is, what will the African be in the global village? Are we going into the global village as employees, as equal partners, as inventors, or as owners of estates? But shame on African politicians. They are selling us to get into the global village. We are constantly going to be slaves. If we don't change in these 400 years, I bet you another 400 years from now, we'll be burying our children into slavery.
I know some people have been waiting to ask. Now, GK, if I add you into the stream, I hope that you will speak, okay? Because I've added you twice before and you said nothing. So this is the last chance now. I'm just going to add you to the stream. GK, do you have a question for King Maponga? GK? GK, I'm sorry, but we're not hearing you. We don't know if your mic's muted, but we're just not getting through. Hello, are you there? Last chance.
Maybe she can type your question, if that is better.
Yeah, maybe type your question because we can't hear you. So I'm just going to remove you from the studio and then we're going to try and see if Roosevelt has now got sound. Roosevelt, can we hear you? Do you have a question for King Maponga? No, we can't hear you. Do you want to type your question? All right, type your question in the comments and I'll pick up on it. Yeah? Okay. So what we'll do is we'll put questions up on the screen. So anybody who's got questions, because King Maponga will be going soon, and I should be saying it's the accent, King Maponga will be going soon. And so please, if you have any questions or you'd like to come on the live, also look in the private chat. In the private chat, you'll see that I actually posted the link for you to come in with StreamYard. Yeah. So you can, thanks for the information in there. You can get the link for the StreamYard in the private chat. I'm going to put it on the screen one more time because obviously we've only got King for a few more minutes. So take this opportunity, please, please, to have that conversation. Yeah. So this is a question that's come up. Please ask Brother King Maponga. How can we gather all African revolutionaries in one place so we can work together closely? Yeah?
That's a good question.
Yeah, sooner or later, we may want to build a kingdom. I think it's almost getting there, where we can have a nucleus from which we produce the ambassadors to other African countries to share the software and the information. I think I had actually a dream the other day of rebuilding the great Zimbabwe kingdom, which is a dream that it's at an advanced level. The architecture and the design of the kingdom are almost at a very, very advanced level. But having said that, I think the social space we are in, it's important, and I don't take it for granted that you are running this organization, because information information is key to a revolution. It's one thing to pick up weapons and run to war, and you don't know the enemy, you don't know the terrain, you don't know the season. You just feel like you must go for war. You know, that kind of thing. And I think maybe for a start, let's gather together. Those in Gambia, maybe sit around Brexit. There's some other organizations, Ubuntu in Uganda. There's other organization, AIM, African Indigenous Movement, Farmers of Thought, and a couple of Pan-African organizations. They are all working tirelessly, even somewhere in the cryptocurrency space. Great strides are being done. But what I can tell you right now, there is a great wave, there is a great wind that is blowing over the Black nation. You like it or not, from America to Europe to Britain to Africa, Australia, wherever there are Black people, there is a certain amount of an awakening that is happening. And I believe some of us have accepted our duties, like John the Baptist. We are just forerunners. We are preachers who are proclaiming the message. One day when you have received your leader, you will be able to hear their voice, because we have prepared you for a time such as this. So wherever you are, don't wait until we are a big political organization. Start in your home, start in your villages, hit your drums every month and sit together for stories. Get some old ladies, share some old-time stories, learn some indigenous knowledge systems, record those voices, convert those voices into books, you know, do something, collect those herbs, write them in a small little booklet, share those recipes of the foods that you are eating, you know, share that knowledge systems about weather, share the systems about, you know, the climates, and as much as we can, architectures, learn how to build African homes, African buildings, nurses, learn how to deliver women, deliver our children. Delivering children is not a sickness, man. Animals do it every day. Why must a pregnant woman act like she's sick? You're not sick. It's normal. It's normal. But learn the techniques. How do you make these birth stools? What were the technologies of the olden days? How do you help our women to freeze their stomachs after they've delivered children? How do they tie their stomachs and do all those technologies? We need all those sciences. Sooner or later, we might need an encyclopedia of African lifestyle, where you can find from diet to fashion to medicine to technology to agriculture, etc. So to preserve this information to the next generation. Because if I die and I don't write, I'll die with it.
I'm looking at questions. Yeah. So what I was about to say is that and I guess that's just joined us, but I just want to ask a couple of questions. GK has posted a question, and so has Wendy Green. And so I want to go to Wendy Green's question quickly. I know we're running out of time. So it says, King Maponga, do you think that the recent action in South Africa can open up some space for true transformative change? I want to add to that what I found strange is that, you know, when it was FW de Klerk, I didn't see any prison sentence. When it was PW Botha, I didn't see any prison sentence. So I want to know what is going on. Like, that's like my take on it, because I swear down. But anyway, I don't want to go too much into the politics, but let's just say that I'm not happy about what I'm seeing happening. I mean, I saw someone send me a message saying that, oh, there's xenophobia because they're actually looting white businesses. I was like, I'm confused. So I'd just like to get your take on it. She said, King Maponga, do you think that the recent action in South Africa can open up some space for true transformative change?
In my village, we have a proverb that says, you can never hide a goat that has horns in a bag, because the horns will always poke the bag and they will show off. The democracy of South Africa has never been an honest democracy, because it has been founded on apartheid. It has been founded on segregation. It has been founded on disenfranchising of the Africans from their resources. The democracy of South Africa has been cotton wool on the face of the blacks, and it was sunset clauses that allowed the European and the white community to continue having access to resources, finances, which the black child never had. the industries and factories that have been established in the country have solely, to a greater percentage, been actually the colonial masters who have been running the industries here. The governments have been singing the song of employment, employment, employment. They have not started talking the language of ownership, ownership, and ownership. At the end of the day, the South African is eating what he does not consume, and he is consuming what he is not making. So the gap between the poor and the rich has constantly been widening. And the apartheid atrocities were not dealt with in full, like what Rwanda did, where you literally bring justice and find the people that caused the crimes and allow families to meet for reconciliation. Yes, you're right, de Klerk was never tried. Yes, you're right, P.W. Botha was never tried. And some of them even refused to come to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Some of them even refused to come to the commission that was set up now for corruption. And the government just folded its arms and said nothing about it. And they decided, of course, to make an example out of Jacob Zuma, which in itself, in terms of judiciary, it was a good move. But politically speaking, I think it was rather a miscalculation, because they forgot that a leader is not what politicians think. A leader is what people think. And the pot was already simmering. And let me put it in context, that COVID did not make it easy also. Because people for 1.5 years some have not been working. Some have been retrenched. Houses are being repossessed. Cars are being repossessed. Children are not going to school. Fridges are empty. Yes, amongst the looters, you had those that were looting TVs, some were looting guns, some were looting food. I saw one old lady who was arrested. She had just stolen 1 bag of meal. That's all she wanted, to run home and cook a meal for her children. And you end up in a cell. So you would find that, yes, there was a criminal activity inside the whole looting story. But I strongly feel that the political environment was constantly simmering. And worse still, when a society does not own the infrastructure, when a society does not own the land, when a society does not own the facilities, they don't protect those facilities. So these big businesses and these big industries that were put into the communities, into the locations, in as much as these infrastructures were bringing resources and services closer to the people, but the people who were working in those same environments, come a day when they should vandalize those things, they felt like this mall is not our mall. It's a white man's mall. It's an Indian mall. It's not our thing. And at the end of the day, we are learning a very critical tool, that if you want to preserve a community, the community must become stakeholders in all the developments that are happening in the community. Be it a business, let the community be shareholders. Be it a mine, let the community be shareholders. We need shareholders in the diamond mines of this country. We need the community to be shareholders of platinum mines in this country. We cannot just be employees. And I think the government needs to change its language from employee language to ownership language. And this has just been an igniting matches. This has been a starting point of the real revolution that ANC went to war for. Right now, I think, to say the least, ANC has been putting ribbons on a dead donkey, hoping that it won't smell. But unfortunately, the smell is getting stronger and stronger. That the dead donkey looks so beautiful, but it is dead. And people are saying, let's bury this constitution with these colonial connotations that are in it. Let's come up with a constitution that recognizes indigenous people and can truly be talking empowerment, not cosmetic political empowerment, but empowerment where the community, like Dubai, every citizen is a shareholder to the oil of that country. Why can't every South African be a shareholder to the resources of their country? So goes for Zimbabwe, so goes for Congo, so goes for Gambia, so goes for Nigeria. That a few petrol oil lords cannot be enjoying the benefits on behalf of the whole country. It must be simple. How many reserves of oil do we have? We have 18 trillion. Good. How many are we? We're 150 million. Divide by 18 trillion. Each one of our member is worth so much. That's value. With that shareholding certificate, you can access banking, you can access education, you can withdraw from your resources. For me, that is simple. You don't need to go to school. Some people are telling me, you're crazy, Maponga. Economics does not work like that. Maybe that's the point. Through economics, we have ended up where we are. M2 squared minus 3 Bofi squared, what, parentheses do, then 2 times x minus 3b squared, it will give us x. That's the economic formula. Where are we with these economic formulas? The economic formula I know is if a man is given land and the man is given skills to plow on his land, that man can eat. If there's a mineral on his land and you tell the man, I'm going to be digging minerals here, you are coming in as a 30% shareholder. I will make sure that no one comes to destroy this mine because I'm also eating from it. So goes for your village. So goes for your village. So the total South African community is disenfranchised. That is a fact. 80% of the land is still in the hands of the whites. I will say this again, still in the hands of the whites. In fact, to make it louder, only 2 families in South Africa, 2 white families, are controlling the entire economy of South Africa, and those are the Oppenheimers and the Ruperts, and they are the funders of the politicians in the country. I cannot mention names for political reasons, but they are the funders of the politicians in the country. And because they are being given money, they cannot change the policies of the country. Unfortunately, when you do that, you cannot rule and govern angry, hungry people.
Everything you said is so true. Even the solutions. If we were to apply across Africa your solutions, Africa would change overnight. Africa would change overnight. But the problem that we face is the entrenchment of the colonial mind, the colonial thinking, the application of the colonial actions, and the indentured servitude, and I'm sorry, but white savior syndrome. And we have it, and we have it bad. And post-traumatic slavery syndrome, we have it, and modern day slavery syndrome, and current day slavery syndrome, and we have an inferiority complex, and we have it bad. And we have so much self-hatred that we would rather tear each other down than bring each other up. And these are things that are still happening today. And now we're even taking it online to another level. And we're telling lies, we're going against each other. So that as one person comes up, you're tearing them down. You know, I've seen it even this week. Someone tearing us down to put a white man up. Like, why? Why? Mm-hmm. You know, why would you do this? People that are bringing people home, people that are helping people. And then you're going to go and tear them down, and then you're going to put a Dutch white man up in Africa? Like, listen, anyway, we have a guest who's been waiting patiently. Am I saying your name right, Amnet? Am I saying your name right, Amnet? She's sitting there, she looks depressed. No. Can I see a smile there, sis? Can I see a smile? That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Welcome to Bla Xit. How you doing?
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to both of you and your husband, Adrian, and especially Mr. King Maponga. I've been following him. I've learned so much from him. He reminds me of my personal hero, Amilcar Cabral, who we all know his saying, tell no lies and claim no easy victories, because this is not going to be an easy victory. You know, and I'm stuck in America. My father brought me here at 14 years old in 1988 and abandoned me by 16 because of his, you know, America's programmed in a way that it messes you up, that you either go into some type of substance just for relief. Thank God that I've for some odd reason, I never allowed that to affect me, you know, and I never went that route of alcoholism and stuff. So, and I've been struggling ever since. So on my own, and I'm proud of myself for what I've accomplished thus far to survive. But I just wanted to let you know, I know you go by a special African name, Juliet, and I forgot it. But anyways, Amunat is not my birth name.
It's Nyancho. Nyancho.
It's my ascension name. That it comes from Amun Ra. Is the feminine side of Amun Ra, because I love to read about the emerald tablets and things of that nature. But you guys inspired me a lot, and I'm scared to move from here. I'm from Cape Verde Islands, the little tropical nation from West Africa. But the thing is, the government there gives immigrants, especially from Europe or America, any that is not Cape Verdean, they have 10 years tax break for, like, if they bring a business. But if I bring one there, they charging me a whole lot of money, you know. So it discourages me from going, and because I don't want to be here no more. I was brought here because my dad brought me here. I was a minor, and I've been stuck here ever since. Based on my history, I know that my genetics come from Guinea-Bissau, Mali, Senegambia area, that whole area, because Cape Verde was a center of slavery, okay? They would bring it to the mainland, the coastal, like Ghana, all those areas there, and then bring it to Cape Verde, and there they used to sell us. Cape Verde is the only country in the West Africa that carries the colonizer's last name. I have a colonizer last name, just like African Americans. That's why we have a strong correlation and connection. It's really.
Okay, do you have a question?
Hello.
I think Maponga has a question for him.
Yes, I wanted to ask you, based on my experience and where I'm at, what are the chances of me going to the mainland? Because I've never been to the mainland Africa, and Gambia or Ghana seems more ideal for me because of the language, English. You know, I do speak a little French, but I forgot a lot of it. And I know there's a big Cape Verdean community in Senegal, but it's been there. They're the ones who saved us during famines in the 1940s. Senegalese people are the ones who saved us, okay, from dying out.
Okay, so let me go to the heart of your question. Have no fear. That the first thing I say is have no fear.
I'm so scared to get to.
Listen. Hang on, I'm just gonna mute you for 1 second, right? Just so I can answer your question. So have no fear. That's my advice. Just throw it out the window. What are you afraid of? Seeing your own people? I live in a village. I'm a village girl. I love living in a village. I love village life. I love everything about the village. I'm integrated into the village of Busura. I love the village food. I love the dancing. I love everything. I love the herbs. I love, when I got sick, my brother came here with a bottle of herbs. Julie, you put it on your head. I love it all. And so I love the language because it's so beautiful. It's so colorful. I love the love. I love the welcoming. It's beautiful, Age. Yes. And even from a man's perspective.
Have no faces, If we could live in the West with white people, there's a problem living in Africa with our own people. Have no fear.
Listen, living in the West is scary, ain't it, Age?
Yeah.
That's scary.
Africa is your own people you're living with. You live with humble, civilized people, people that respect their ancestors, people that, that respect the elders. You understand? So, yeah, it's easier to live in Africa than the West.
Much easier.
So just come home, sis. Take the fear out of your mind. Come home.
Listen, you get clean water. You're not drinking recycled, right? You're not drinking poo water, as I call it. When I said England is a dump, and I was talking about unsanitized water, and I was talking about drainage, and I was talking about the fact that you were drinking recycled poo water, and I was talking about the fact that you can't go to the rivers and drink clean water. When I was talking about the people's attitude, and the racism. Just look at what happened with these 3 footballers this week. I don't really watch football, but I can tell you that I knew that the racism was going to hit hard. So if you can live with racism, why can't you live with love? If you can live with hatred in the West, why can't you come back, yeah, and live in the abundance of freedom? Freedom. I am free. This is my home. I'm in a village. No one is troubling me. I can walk at 4 o'clock in the morning and go and sit down and lay down in the middle of the road and look at the stars. I can run after lizards and do whatever I want to do. I can go in the river and swim. I can go in the sea and swim. I can sit down on the beach and eat fruits just watching crabs. I can watch birds. I can watch vultures tear things apart and watch the cycle of life. I can listen to the drums and dance around the fire and watch the culture, listen to the rhythms of life. I can hear birds in the morning peck at my windows, little weaver birds. You don't understand. We don't have helicopters flying over. Brrr, who are they going to catch next? We don't have sirens going past every minute. We don't have all these chemtrails in the sky where you're afraid to breathe. We can pick mangoes off of trees, pick cashew apples, sweet cashew apples off of trees, pick banana in your garden, get the pawpaw in your garden, get your own sugar cane and make your own sugar juice. I can go and take soursop off my tree. You got no idea what you're missing. No idea. We should have done it years ago. I am living rent free. I am living mortgage free. My electricity comes from the sun. My water comes from the earth. And my food comes from the earth. And my people are my connections from my ancestors' birth. How can I even have one regret? So have no fear, my sister. Have no fear. And thank you for joining us. Okay? Thank you so much. Now, I've got a couple of questions.
She must not be afraid of freedom. She must not be afraid of freedom. I'm saying she must not be afraid of freedom.
Yes.
Now, when you have lived as a slave for a long time, when someone offers you freedom, it's scary. You know the story of that elephant that was tied on a rope for a long time. The day they cut off the rope, the elephant could not go further than the rope.
I'm reading some of the comments. Someone said I forgot to mention my swimming pool. Harmony, you're so cheeky. Okay, and I can swim my pool in the mornings. I can swim my pool at night. And yes, the pool water is filled from a borehole too. And yes, I have a swimming pool. Yeah. And in Africa, yeah, I'm living large. I'm living life and I'm loving it because I worked hard for it. I worked hard for it. I worked 3 jobs. Okay. And we deserve everything we have.
Let me say something here. Can I say something?
Yes.
I'll use a theological example to drive the point home. You know, before the Israelites left Egypt, in the narrative and in the allegory, they took money from the Egyptians and then they went to Israel. You see, when you're in America, for example, let me teach you to be a nice criminal, but a good one. Go to the bank, get yourself a nice loan, 20 years to pay, identify a business venture in Africa, agriculture, chicken farming, you know, textile, for example, anything, even cocoa, coffee, or small mining, or selling clothes, or cosmetics, anything that you want. Invest that loan, identify a good person on the ground, work with them, develop that business. Use the profit of that business to pay your debt in where you took the credit from. 3, 4, 5 years from now, your business can actually be able to transport you back to your country of your choice, and you will come in on a business visa and you neutralize yourself. So it is not difficult because you have access to funding. If you are living in Europe and you are living in America, use that financial muscle. Don't get a loan to buy a house. Don't get a loan to buy a car. Get a loan to invest in an African business. Are you listening to me, African people? Get yourself a loan. Identify an African business. Invest your money in there. Gold mining, for example. People are panicking. Like on my farm right now, people are digging gold with a shovel, a pick and shovel at the house, literally scooping soil in the house and gold. You have some 100,000, 50,000 pounds, come to the farm, give you 10 hectares, 25, 30 hectares, put your mill there, dig your gold, purify it. For once, you cannot be dreaming about going to heaven to walk in streets of gold when you never held a bar of gold on earth. You're sick in your head. You better experience these things while we're still on earth. That's why I always talk about this white Jesus concept, that you cannot talk to an African whose mind is obsessed with a white Messiah, a white Jesus. And at the end of the day, you think that a black man will think better than himself. Theology and spirituality, particularly Eurocentric Christianity, has enslaved the mind of the African. Don't worry about this world. Don't worry about this world. Jesus is coming again, and we'll go to heaven and everything will be fine. Hey, listen to me a minute. If God wanted us in heaven, then why did he create us on earth?
Good question. Never quite thought about it like that.
We are here on earth.
That's a very good question. In fact, I'd like to talk about your book before you go, because I think the knowledge that you've dropped here is great, but I want it to continue. I want us all to go out. I want us all to buy the book. I know that there's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of us watching. I don't know how many, because obviously I'm live, I can't see, but I know there's a lot. So let's talk about your books, and let's talk about your recent one, because I know you've just released a new book. And let's talk about the knowledge that you've dropped in there, and let's talk about how we can get it, because this is what it's all about. It's about us sharing that information, you know, that indigenous knowledge that is so important, the ancestral knowledge, and how we can unwrap it. I remember watching one of your videos and I was sitting there drumming, you know, following you, drumming and taking out all my instruments, and, you know, and I loved it. I just had a quarter made, you know, and so I'm learning the quarter because I realized that I've got a connection with it. I'm a terrible player, don't get me wrong. It doesn't even sound great, but I just feel great playing it. And I think that's what it is. It's the feeling of the connection. I started writing my poetry again. Hey, my finger piano, you see me right there. That was one of my first African instruments. I was about 17 when I got my first one. And I could play some tunes. Yeah, I'm not bad. I'm not bad on that one. That one, I'm not bad. I used to play all the time in my bedroom.
To do justice, let me book another appointment with you where we can actually go through the book. It's 400 pages of critical information. But at a high level, this book is a bridge for all recovering addicts of Christianity who want to find their way back to their indigenous knowledge systems. I wrote this book over a period of 8 years, and after 33 years of being a pastor in churches, conferences around the world, it's not a thumbsuck. There's a big annotated bibliography at the back of more than 85 books that I drew the information from, and hundreds of interviews that I did. The book is not answers to nothing. It is 60% questions. It's an interrogation. It's a conversation with yourself. Those questions that you have not been comfortable to ask, you may find that this book starts taking you on that journey. However, Know Your Truth is about all of us finding our path. As to how do we walk on that path, I cannot tell you. The way I have walked my path is not the way you would walk your path. But all I know is that because you are here in the realm of the physical life and we have met in this timeline, you cannot get rid of me. I am one with you in this generation. We are here to share and grow together. In this book, we deal with African spirituality and Christianity. We deal with methods of worship. We deal with issues of healing. We deal with issues of rituals and issues of finding yourself as an African and detoxing the body, the mind, and the soul out of colonial hegemony into an African-centered pattern of thinking. And having said all that, Find Your Truth is basically you finding the locus of control within your spirit, beginning to hear your dreams, following your visions, and challenging status quo, killing fear, and living life to the fullest. But you will not miss it in the book. If you don't learn in your lifetime, what legacy are you going to leave for your children? It's a great book that I wish every African should read, particularly those in diaspora, because you're already working from a Eurocentric Christian, ideological framework. You would find it as a very interesting book. Amazon has the book, Find Your Truth, author Joshua Maponga. Take a lot in South Africa. All the books locally, bookshops locally. If really there's a need, you can maybe even try to get in touch with us, but postage is mad here in Africa. Maybe that's a business opportunity. Someone in Europe, someone in America, you can order a box. I send you a box. It will be cheaper for freight. Then what you can do from where you are there, you can distribute and sell and also make some profit out of that kind of an venture. But it's a book that took something out of me because I had to share this, and I had to part with my career. I had to stand up and be called a demon in my own church. I had to stand up. I had to be excommunicated from the church. I had my salaries cut off. I had my pensions thrown into the dustbin. I was left on the streets after 33 years of labor to pursue what you see now. Is not just come out as some people call me a social maverick, like I'm just talking for the sake of talking. To me, this is life. My spirit is heavy as I feel the African child can do better, can think better, can live better, can communicate better, can worship better, and can bear children better, can build better marriages. We can do better than we are doing right now. And this book is a challenge to everything that you've come to believe, whether you're an atheist or you're a Christian, you're a Muslim. That's not the issue. I'm simply using the text, the black text, as a reference point of indigenous knowledge, wisdom, literature, and then drawing those cultural lessons that you need to put in yourself as a learning point. You will know in the book, I will put the ground very well, which is your mind, your reproduction, and the soil. In the book, I will plant a seed, which is information, and a crop. I will grow a tree, which is you, and your roots, which are your grandfathers, the branches, which are your children, and your fruits. And inside the seeds is the DNA of the entire tree. And it is planted again to duplicate itself after its own kind. Therefore, how do we begin to create this cycle of continuity where the roots look different to the tree looks different to the fruit, but what is in the fruit is in the tree, and what is in the tree is in the roots. And when you begin to appreciate that cycle of farming, you will have understood the first principle of farmers of thought: farming your mind, farming your reproduction, and farming the ground. When a face is beautiful and the software is not working, the hardware between your legs will always suffer. In conclusion, When the face is beautiful, as a country, when a country is beautiful, and the resources, which is the manpower and leadership, is not working, which is the software, the resources of that country will always suffer. It's a thinking tool for the modern generation to begin to walk through the corridors of my mindset and understand how I think, the way I think, and why I think the way I think, and what influences my theology and the philosophy of farmers of thought.
Someone said that the book doesn't show as for sale, but as a Kindle download on Amazon.
Yeah, we are still struggling with the Europeans who have just allowed us to do a Kindle book for a start because they don't have stock for the book itself. So negotiations are underway, but if you want to start reading, what would be very nice is 10, 15, 20 people can even download the Kindle version, read it, and then we come on the show and we can actually begin to interrogate the book together before you can hold your hard copy. Then this can convert into a good lesson where we can grow together as we are sharing information.
It's quite reasonable to publish here, so maybe you could publish and distribute from here because Gambia is closer to Europe and to also West Africa. So that could be a great.
Let's have a talk outside of this, and I will make the soft copies available, and we can organize a publishing rights in Gambia, and we can print it from Gambia and distribute it from there also.
Yeah, absolutely, because McConnell, who wrote his book, McConnell Sankofa, he wrote a book about Rastafari, and he published it while he was here in the Gambia, and it was a good publish. It was a good book. It was a good quality copy and everything, and he did it right here. So I'm happy to connect with him. He even has a book writers club. So if anyone wants to go online, look at McConnell Sankofa. He even teaches you how to publish, how to self-publish, how to market. Very good, very interesting stuff that he's doing. I'm really proud of him. He was one of our first cameramen and editors here on Bla Xit. So I still support him, of course, as part of the team. So, I mean, anything that I can do, Bla Xit is here. We have a very big community. We have over 3.7 million viewers. So I'm sure within the team here, we can definitely do something. So I don't see why we can't. Let's all do what we can do together.
Can I make an offer?
Sure.
For every book that we sell in Gambia, let's set up a funding for repatriation. I'll contribute 10% of all my profits towards the repatriation of the Africans, those who want to come back home.
Bla Xit. Exactly. It's about the black exit from the West to the best coming back home. That's a fantastic idea. I'll be happy to set that up, and definitely happy to contribute that towards a repatriation fund to help finance some people's fears in terms of coming back home. I think it's a great idea. They just want me to write the name of the book and where they can get it. So if you tell me, I'll put it on screen. So here we go. If you put it in the comments, I'll put it on the screen. Okay, let's have a look. Got it. Find your tree. I've got it. I promise you, I cannot wait to get a copy of this book. I'm just putting it in the regular comments here. So the book is called here, Find Your Tree. I'm just going to change this to capital. Is it by Maponga Day?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay. If anyone's got the link, could you post it so I can put it on the screen, please? If anyone's got the Amazon link, if you could just share it, I
I'm
can
trying-
put it on on the screen.
All right. I think
Uh-huh. More information here. I got it. Okay.
I got it.
See, you know, another thing is, right? I've got to say that, you know, like with all this modern technology and everything that's going on, right? Could you imagine if we had a school of super, like excellent IT experts that could hack every system, that could bring down any nuclear system, any missile system, any banking system? Could you imagine?
We are starting. I think this is a good start.
AI is the Achilles heel.
We let's talk and share some ideas. We are on the right platform. This is a start. And we can put more. I mean, just while you are at it, I mean, I do all these designs, for example, of the heads, you know.
I want that. I like that one. I want that one. That one's mine. No, I like that one as well. Oh, I love this one. No, I love them all.
It's a whole world of creativity and.
How can we get some hats?
When I send the box, I will also include some of the hats in there for.
Okay. Oh, I love that one. Do you know, I love my hats. I've always got something on my head. I love hair to wear. Oh no, I want the snake one. Yeah, I like that one. That one is mine. No, I like that one as well. That one is me. Do you know, once I had snakes all around my neck? Yeah. Okay, I want everybody to be able to get an order, because you can ship. You can do drop shipping now.
Yes.
It's easy
What you
to
can
do drop shipping in
Yes,
Africa.
consolidate one order from your. I'll take some few pictures and send you. Then I can see how many of each to put in. It would be nice to get a hat and get a book in a nice package. Then at least you know parts of me are with you while you are reading. I'll take you through some of the technologies and sciences that are already included on the hats in terms of chemetic knowledge systems, the triangles, the diamonds, the colors, the dietary system that is already written here. How do you eat yellow? How do you eat blue? And how do you eat red? And what chakras are you feeding in the body when you are eating these colorful foods? So your diet is here, your medicine is here, your architecture is here, and your culture is all there. So it has been, our forefathers have left all this knowledge system in simple pieces of art. And if you just look, you may think that is just colors and shapes. But if you know how to decode that information, you might actually discover from the ancient Kemetic pyramids to the Southern African hemisphere, that knowledge has been preserved. Just like the Bushmen were writing on the walls in the mainland, they were doing arts and crafts. And from there, knowledge has been preserved. And even some of the nice.
Oh, I want one of them.
Nice.
Oh my goodness. That is beautiful. Listen, everybody, right, that's on the channel, if you would like to get some of this indigenous beautiful headwear and neckwear, I want you to say yes, please. So I know that we can make this order and get the books. So I want you to say yes. Oh my gosh. Listen, brothers and sisters, you know I like my stuffs. Oh my gosh. Come on then. Come into the comments. Bla Xit Family, please. I beg you. Get you some yes. We got yes.
You can be matching your head.
Yes,
your head
please.
and your neck and your neck piece.
That is beautiful. So we've got Amina saying yes, please. We've got Nature Please saying yes, please. Where are we? We got Building Africa saying yes, please. Evan says so beautiful. Oh, Ricardo says yes, please. African Spiritualist says yes, please. I think it's a deal. I think it's a done deal. Carissa Carradine said yes, please. William said yes, please. Zarina says evening. Gasu says yes. Sparrowlight says yes. Melanated Royalty says yes. Liliana says yes. I think that's confirmed. Wendy Green, she says yes. Hi, Wendy. Yeah, big love to you, sis. I think it's Henry.
Go your reds.
Love reds. I like the reds. I love the reds. Do you know what? I think I'll tell you what. Black Xit, you better put your orders in before Juliet gets to there. You better put your orders in. Adrian's gonna swipe you.
Go for it. You want something more royal?
Oh no, that's beautiful. That's like a crown.
Yeah.
Fonz says yes, please. Big love to you, Fonz. JD says yes, please. He said, "Can you order from the USA?" Yeah, I'm guessing. I don't see why not. They want you to explain the symbols. They want to know when they can order. The red one, oh my God, I love the red one. I love that one as well. I like the feather. The feather.
Some are made out of grass. This one is, some are made out of grass. Some are made out of felt. So it depends how you feel. If you want to go really the organic way, we have made them out of grass. These are organic, you know. This, and I make them all by my hands. I make them from my own. These are not. I make them myself. So it's my own factory in my.
Well, let's do this. I believe in supporting our own African businesses. I have a philosophy of Africa first. And while I'm on the subject, let me just say to everybody that has purchased land here in the Gambia, we had an issue because, as you know, we support Black business and Black business only. And some people have wanted to have white businesses come and interface with Black Xit. So we kind of created a policy that if you want to get your land documents and do what you're doing, you need to do it yourself personally. Don't send a white man or white man's company to us. Please, we beg you. So this is about our repatriation. And we want to keep this, totally authentic. And so we're asking you to please respect our Pan-Africanist values. Please respect our African first values and don't disrespect us. We will not respect that. So we have a new policy. When you come for your land documents, you'll come and, oh, the Ankh. Sorry, got distracted. You know what? I want this one. I love that. You know, the Ankh is my sign. Adrian and I, didn't we? We got engaged in Egypt. Yeah, I know we have to go. Guess what? We have to go and meet another vlogger. And I just want to say on this channel that we are about peace and reconciliation. And so we're actually going to meet, I'm getting ready now to go and meet another vlogger, to try and to make peace. And so I will talk to you more about it. I don't want to say too much now, but we're going to try and understand where their mindset is regarding us as Africans coming home, because we've had some conflict and some pushback. Yeah, so we don't want this anymore. What we need is unity. What we need is us coming together and realizing that we are all Africans despite our journeys. And we have to relearn our Africanness. We have to relearn. You know, it's so hard to undo the colonization of our minds and the poison and the toxicity that we have and the hatred towards each other. And so we're going to try and see if we can undo a little bit of this hatred and everything. And so I'm having to rush to go because I would really love to sit here and talk all night. But we have to do this again. Can I have your time next Friday? Can we have your time next Friday?
I'll make time next Friday. We can do the book next Friday at a more relaxed pace. We can at least we can just cover one subject and download the copy. then read and prepare your questions. Then it will be
I'm
nice.
gonna do that. I don't have a Kindle. I don't have a Kindle.
All right.
So I can do it on my phone, right?
Yes, you can do it on the phone, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just download this as a PDF and print it off on my phone. I'm a book person. I love books. I'm a book girl. I love books. I'm an autodidact, you know. I'm not so much of a scholar, more of an autodidact. I love to read. So I just want to finish off by saying thank you for your time. That one you're wearing there is mine. That's my order. So don't sell it to anybody else. Reserve it for me. I will pay you, any which way you want, and send you the money. Just send me your account details, or
let's pack everything. Let's pack everything so that I can put one big box and I send it one time. It will be much cheaper. So maybe when you see all the pictures, you may just go, there's quite a bit of creativity around, but I hope you can find something that you like.
Oh, most definitely. Listen, today has been awesome. I've learned so much. I've been so inspired. My husband's turned off the fan to get me out of the house. So I'm going to let him say, you see what he's done to me? Yeah, look, sweat. Yeah. And so I'm going to let him, close off today, man oh man, and king oh king. And just like to say thank you to everybody who has been watching and who has been sharing. Let's keep it positive. Don't worry about the naysayers. Don't worry about the haters. We're here about love. We're here about unity. We're here about bringing. We're here about building. We're here about bringing it together. Because if we don't bring it together, we're going to regret it forever. Telling you that now. If we don't pull this together, we are in war. We are under bio-warfare. And no one ain't puncturing my skin. You understand what I'm saying, family? So, Adrian, you go ahead. Big love to you, my king. Thank you, my king. Next week, Friday, we're going to do the book. And we're going to get that knowledge and share that knowledge. This is what these platforms are there for, is for sharing knowledge and peace and love and harmony. So, Adrian, I'm going to go and I'm going to freshen up to go and have this meeting. More power, Bla Xit family. Big love. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So give thanks, brother, for giving us at least 2 hours of your time. We respect that. We respect that, and there are great changes coming. Sometimes I sit back humble and I look at the changes. I've been championing for this change for years. Since I was in the Caribbean. I was in the Caribbean. I was a Rasta. I spent 12 years as a Rastafarian. But as life goes on, I'm more become an African spiritualist. So this work that we're doing is touching many people's heart. Guys like Walter Meyer, they're doing great works. Yourself, King Maponga, you're doing great works. When you look at young Usman Toure, he's doing great works. You look at Professor Lumumba, and many more. We have Dr. Perry Stanislaus. They're all fighters for this unity. Many of us coming together, and we have to make it great. I saw someone put in the comment section, when we're gonna gather all the revolutionary from Africa in one place. But that is slowly coming. But it's many of us, it's many of us, but it's slowly coming. And those times is here now upon us. Black people now realize that they're no longer wanted in the West. So now they move into greener pastures. And Africa is greener pastures. We're Africans. It doesn't matter where we are in the world, we're Africans. And one day we will return home. As I used to listen to Charles Edwards, King Emmanuel, Bob Ashanti from Jamaica. He said that every nation gonna have to find themselves back under their own vine and fig tree. And this is when they're gonna get world peace. So the black man is for Africa. The Asians is for Asia. The Europeans for Europe. So let's come home. Let's come home. There are gonna be challenges because some of our people been coming back with a colonized mind. Same, and we have to drop that. When we come back to the motherland, we have to born again. Take on new culture. You understand? Take on new language, different understanding. But what I'm saying though, the revolution is now. But our children is what gonna change the face of Africa. You know? So it's good that when you come with a young child, you make sure a young child is educated in the system. Because we're just a stepping stone now for a bigger picture down the road. So give thanks to your work. Give thanks to your work, King Maponga. You know, your work is touching millions and millions of people's life. You know, we have people in the West that are crying to come home, crying to leave the West to come home. But some of them not in a financial position. And something that I'm looking into is how we, that is already here, how could we help others to make the journey? You know, that's what I'm saying, it's going to be a togetherness. So we ourselves here should be able to help preparing others to come. Because it's happening. And as you see here in the Gambia, we're working closely with the National Assembly members, they're great. They respect what we're doing. They respect us. We respect them. We also had the privilege of meeting His Excellency Adama Barrow. And the words from him was inspiring. His words keep us motivated. Make us so that we still have to keep moving, because one day will happen. The sons and daughters of Africa that was stolen gonna one day return home. Nothing gonna stop that. That's already manifesting now. You know? So King Maponga, keep up the good works. Keep up the good works. As Marcus Garvey said, whatever you live for, you should be able to die for. You know, and this is what he said. You know.
King Mapongo.
Yeah, say hello. My son want to say hello to you, King Mapongo.
Hello, King Mapongo.
Greetings.
Hello, Excellency.
So you are the future.
You are the future.
Yes.
The bright
Thanks for what you're doing.
Thanks for all the work you are doing.
Yes. It's to prepare for you.
It's to prepare for you.
For you.
For me.
Yes. Yes. Well, yes. Give thanks, King, you know. And hopefully next Friday.
Next Friday is good.
Yeah, we will carry it on. Yeah. So give thanks for all the work and your contribution to the Black community.
Love and peace.
Yes. And also give thanks to the Bla Xit family. You know, the Bla Xit family always be positive here with us, you know. So give thanks to you as well. You know, because of you, why we are. You know, so we will catch up next week. King Maponga, yeah? Give thanks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, good.